use whatever means you have, and especially the technology, to stay up to date with what the university is doing and has to offer, because there are resources available, and a lot of well-meaning individuals, well-meaning students who'd like to do something positive for the community, and they need to be kind of harnessed for the energy they have and the good that they could do if people like you can grab them and pull them aside and say, you know, what we really need is X, Y, and Z, and then they go do, maybe they'll do X and Z and leave Y to someone else, but that's how things move along. So, is there any questions at this point?
I have a question, because I understand where we are and where we are trying to go. This needs to be community supported. And I saw some of the technical information on where to go to get free resources, and you still have to pay a small yearly fee to have this hosted somewhere. So what would you suggest would be a good way for the community to feed into that fee, you know what I mean, so that it's not dropped? I mean, I don't know if anybody else has any ideas of how to keep something like this going where it's not just one person that, because that seems like what I would think would be one issue is somebody has to take this on. It's a responsibility, and you have to really want to do it. But how do you get it where everybody's doing it instead of just one person or one, body? So I don't know if there's been examples around in other communities, other cities where this type of what we're trying to do is actually been going on and it's successful, and its community has been taking it and just ran with it. Is there any models anywhere?
I mean, I've certainly looked, and I intend, as I kind of continue my research, to keep looking at what's going on in other places to see what we can learn.
That's what I'm afraid of, is that I would not want to see it just, it'll be a big gap.
So I can kind of address kind of the sustainability question. We do have some verbal agreements at this point with both the Urbana Free Library and the University of Illinois institutional repository to do some kind of backup of all the content, so that the content that has been digitized will not be lost. It's another question, like you said, in terms of maintaining the servers. We will be able to, we should be able to preserve the digital content. It's another question if we'll be able to preserve it in the form that it's currently in until the end of time. That's a much more complicated question, and that's the question that I don't have an answer to at this point, but that's one of the reasons why we're working and kind of shifting gears and thinking more about manuals and training and things of that nature, because that's kind of what we think is the only real solution. I think is to just find people who have kind of the bug or the energy for local history, or and to work with them and to train them to have the technical competency in the community to maintain something like this. But
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking that my mind just spinning off as you're talking, that it could still be an educational tool, and that could be one way, an engine to keep it going is to keep it in the community and use it as an educational tool for the community, and then therefore it never dies.
I'll say one thing about that. Michael Pollack isn't here tonight, but he's a history teacher at Urbana High School, and I've been working with him. He's very eager to have me go in and kind of work with him and a couple of his students in the fall to do training in yearbook digitization. So exactly what your point is. I think it's finding a way to get educators involved is critical, certainly. Abdul, do you?
Yeah, let me just make a couple of points. First, to the young people, it's easy. It's very easy to think about, how you felt. A lot of work. Maybe you thought it would go one way or another, but here's the harsh reality. Your future is going to depend not just on being in a project. that somebody else set up and that you participated in. When you apply for college, the question is going to be, what did you initiate? What did you do to distinguish yourself from others so that they will be anxious to have you, like, for example, at the University of Illinois? So the real question after this project is, what are you going to do to initiate a project? You know, it's sort of like becoming an Eagle Scout that they put in the newspaper. People who have distinguished themselves, and therefore people pay attention to them. So the question is whether you have the inspiration or the dedication or the ability to follow through and initiate a project that you can hold as what you contributed, what you've given leadership to. That's what's going to get you ahead. And technology is the game. You might be able to be a basketball player or a football player. That only lasts so long, right? The odds are that if you work this technology, and I don't mean I know a little bit about computers, I know about Facebook, that kind of knowledge. I mean the kind of knowledge that came from that film, which shows the technical ability to understand what's behind the image, what creates the software and the ability to do these things. So it's wonderful that you've done so far, but you've just taken a baby step. The real step is what you initiate. What projects that you say, I thought of something and I'm going to create something and give leadership to it. So that's a strong word of advice from an old head who teaches at the University of Illinois, who might be sitting on a committee to determine whether or not you can do what you want to do. Now, with regard to the community, here's the real issue. The real issue is not an individual. The real issue is something is getting ready to happen to change the entire community. We're going to get technology beginning this fall that is the state-of-the-art technology. Every church will be hooked up with the state-of-the-art technology with speeds and capacity the equivalent of the university. Now, a lot of people in this town, in the shadow of the university, right, have a love-hate relationship with the university, right? But count on other people. Well, this is a moment where we either count on ourselves or everyone will talk against you. In other words, when has the black community gotten the first shot at state-of-the-art technology? That has never happened. But it's happening now. And so the question is, with this manual, every church will be a broadcasting center in real time to be able to broadcast to everybody who can go online to see the church service or anything else we decide to put online. Now, the sister, you know, the calendar, etc. Beautiful. The content of what's on eBlackCU makes Champaign-Urbana one of the leading cities in the United States with regard to its history online. Now, our people here don't know that. But we have to figure out a way to keep this conversation going. I mean, I think, you know, the teacher in school and high school, all that's fine. But this is a moment for us in the community to begin to figure out ways to make it work. Now, here's the conversation that's going on. The secret to all of this is having a server where you can host your own information. We now are going to have the capacity to host our own servers. So people like Connie and Chris, who are involved in the community, in institutions, etc., are going to start working on that very question. So that we won't have $170, which isn't that much money anyway, but we won't have that problem. We'll be hosting our own servers. Nobody can pull the plug on us. And we're going to work with UC2B to make it possible so that every organization will be able to have their web pages hosted for free. Now, you know, you can't get better than free. And if it's free, you got nobody to complain about but yourself.
That's right. Right about that.
You know, unless you want somebody to just come and pull you up out the bed, you know what I mean, and dress you and all of that. So the reality is, it's getting ready to happen this fall. Now, if we don't start talking about it and organizing ourselves, everybody in town is going to say, why did you start with them? Because they're already saying that. Okay, why are you starting over there? What about us? We've been running it all along. You know what I mean? So it's going to be on us. Either we do something, or we will be sidelined from now on. Because every time something else comes up, they'll say, well, you know what happened last time? Nothing. So it seems to me, the answer to your real question is, how do we create a collective interest so that we can do for ourselves? This is the greatest moment in the history of black people in this country for self-determination in the digital age. This is the moment. And, you know, you all can either be important people or you will regret it, because you have the opportunity at this very moment when this town, look, BTOP, the national program, there's only one city in the United States that got the grant to bring fiber optic cable all the way to every household in a particular neighborhood, and that's Champaign-Urbana. Now think about that for a moment. Out of $7 billion, the only place, and it's North Champaign that's getting this fiber to the premise. Every church, every organization, every school will have state-of-the-art 1 gigabit connection, symmetrical, up and down. If we don't do something with this, for the rest of your life, you'll be thinking about, I was there, I was at that moment, I could have done something, and I didn't do it. But this is a moment, hey, this is way past the 1960s. This is a gigabit connection, state-of-the-art connection for all of us. And if you've got a child and you need a computer, Brian Bell is a whole project of giving away computers or having state-of-the-art technology for $135. You can get a whole setup. In other words, there's nothing standing in the way for us right now to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
And if you want to look for Brian Bell's contact information, the website for this program is #1 on both sides of this sheet at the Illinois Worknet Center. You can just enter that address in your browser and find out about Brian Bell's computer program. Do you have any feedback you want to give?
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Any other questions?
She's
I
asking.
do have a question. So the highlighted areas in yellow are all of the areas that will actually have, be eligible for the high-speed internet?
Yeah, basically what the grant pays for is the actual hookup to individual or community institutions in those yellow areas. It's still, so basically, I'm not sure what it would cost without this grant. It would be like $3,000 per home for areas outside of the yellow area. So basically, you could think of it as, I think, the sum is like a $3,000 subsidy to get a direct hookup to this state-of-the-art broadband infrastructure to your home if you live in one of these yellow areas. I believe that's accurate. Chris Hand was on the technical committee, right?
Yes.
He may be able to give us some more technical details about that.
So basically what's going to happen is, yeah, those yellow areas, everybody, basically what you said, Noah, but by the end of this year, only a small portion, they're going to start off, they're going to do 2 sub-areas of that by the end of this year. So by Christmas, some of those people in that yellow area, and it's going to start off around University and Wright Street, and start spreading out from there. And so then early next year, they're gonna start keep digging, but you have to let them, you know. They're gonna get it all the way to your block, but before they come into your home, you're gonna have to say, yes, please, I want it. And that's what a lot of us on the committee are trying to figure out. How can we get people to say, yes, bring it into my home? Yes.
But I have a question, because what I'm looking at
Yeah.
is everything is yellow, except for Wilbur Heights, Frasca Field, am I looking at this right? You said that everything highlighted in gold.
These
The yellow boxes.
yellow boxes.
Okay, so nothing south of like where East Washington Street is?
Correct.
No,
Nothing there.
yeah, it's only these
Just
solid,
north of University Avenue, is that what
the
I'm
solid blocks,
For the
like,
most part, okay.
yeah. So
That's
all
what
the
they allow district.
North Garden Hills,
Okay.
the
That's
North
what
End.
the federal money is paying for.
Okay.
And right now, there are lots of meetings that are being held to determine how to expand this to the rest of the city. And there are lots of ideas about that. And again, it's a question of participation and making sure that, for example, the low-income communities that are not in the yellow areas don't get sidelined forever. Because
District 1 is gonna change within the next couple of months, where it's gonna be less, and they will be filtering out throughout the city, so, okay.
Well,
But
not
there's-
necessarily. In order for them to filter beyond the yellow zones, they have to come up with some kind of way to pay to bring it to your premise. See, only the people in the yellow
Yeah.
zones are gonna get it up to their door.
I'm talking about the people.
People like
It's gonna change, yeah. And so they'll be filtered out throughout the cities, and they may not be in those yellow zones when they relocate. That's what I
Well,
was thinking, so.
they're not gonna bring it up to your premise unless they get some kind of, the cities of Champaign-Urbana come up with some way of funding it. Right now, the little boxes in the yellow
Yeah.
zones are already funded.
Sell a lot of.
But those people who live in those areas, when the people knock on their door, they're gonna have to say, yes, I want this. If you say no, I don't want it, they're not coming back again.
So we can't do email with that. We need
Right,
to
but
talk.
they're thinking of ways to bring it to the whole community,
Okay.
at large. But it will have to be in a situation where either the city, provides the monies for it and it's paid back through a monthly stipend attached to your bill, or something like
Next
that.
project.
Yes.
That's my next project. Getting people to these meetings where they can help make this decision.
That's the most
That's right.
important thing, and as you know, we've had, how many
Yeah,
forums?
that's
Three?
coming out next week.
We've had 3 forums, and I think we had upwards of a couple hundred people, but we're talking about upwards of 4,000 households.
Are people understanding the impact and the benefit? Do you think that they?
Well, some do, some don't, because it's not really here yet. You can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't see it. It's all just talk. So when these people start digging in front of your house, up and down the roads, like Chris said, they're gonna start at University and Wright Street. They're actually gonna break up the concrete and start digging and laying this fiber. And then probably the news media will probably start talking about it more. People will start asking questions more. But
No, the answer to your question is that I'm not sure that anybody can tell you what the value of it is. We as a community are going to have to invent that value, what it means to us. What we do know is that if you have any young people in the household and you don't have a computer and access to the internet, then their ability to advance academically is slowed down. And so that we know that. We also know that as you grow older, the need to have health information is decreased. And you have to then rely on other people as opposed to being able to get the information for yourself. That's a major aspect of this. And the data indicates that African Americans, for example, use it more for like health information than other people, right? Because it's obvious we got a lot of health problems. So what we're talking about here is obvious to anyone who's been paying attention. But we know in our community there are lots of people who have not been paying attention. Now here's the other problem. If your child goes to a classroom and half the people are online, but half the people are not online. And they're all interacting with the teacher. The half that are not online are going to hold the classroom back. If you live in a community and half the people are online figuring out how to be healthy, and half the community is being unhealthy, then everybody's health is in danger. And so we have as a community the need for everybody to move forward with this. This is not about just my thing. This has got to be our thing. And so the real answer to your question is, what conversations are going on in the churches about this? What conversations are going on in every organization? Say y'all are playing cards, sitting around watching TV. These are the things that we need to talk about. It's, put it this way, wasn't literacy one of the main subjects toward the end of slavery? And when people were in the rural areas, you had to know how to read. And that helped you advance.
You're right about that.
Literacy was the way to freedom. And then, of course, it got to be where you would make an X. And didn't nobody want to make an X. And everybody know if you made an X, you know, backward. So people would try to disguise it. Say, my hand hurts. Would you write that for me? You know, that kind of thing.
And it's happening here today
Of course.
in this community.
But there is a 21st century X maker. And that's the person who doesn't know software. You can't get a job. Anyway, McDonald's, Walmart.
So we need to make it like